Welcome back to Respoiled. Today, I have another captivating story to share with you. But before we dive in, if you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications, so you'll never miss out on all of my latest uploads. Now let's get started. Long before humanity embarked on interstellar exploration, David the android is activated and subjected to tests by his creator, which involve tasks demanding intellect and physical coordination. David remarks that although he was created by a human, humans themselves are unaware of their creator, and if he ever uncovers the answer, his creator will likely be deceased by then. 11 years elapse after the Prometheus expedition, bringing the timeline to 2104. The colony spaceship Covenant is en route to the planet Origai 6, transporting over 2,000 colonists in cryosleep along with over 1,000 human embryos. During the humans' hibernation, the ship is managed by an AI named Mother and the android Walter, an enhanced version of David. With 7 years remaining in the journey, the ship is unexpectedly hit by a neutrino blast from a nearby stellar ignition, resulting in significant damage, multiple onboard fires, and a complete power shutdown. As the ship trembles, Walter endeavors to extinguish the flames while 15 crew members are roused to address the crisis. Unfortunately, the captain's pod becomes dislodged and trapped, preventing his timely awakening, leaving his wife Daniels to witness its incineration. Despite the loss of 47 colonists and 16 embryos, the surviving crew successfully extinguishes the fire. While the team recovers the body, Daniels takes a moment to reflect on her husband's belongings and mourn. Meanwhile, First Officer Orem assumes the role of captain and instructs the crew to focus on repairing all the damage. Despite some complaints from crew members needing time to cope with the loss, Orem emphasizes the urgency of repairing everything promptly to prevent further casualties. While collaborating, Daniels shares with Walter her late husband's aspiration to construct a cabin on the new planet, and Walter encourages her to pursue that dream in his memory. Afterward, the crew honors their former captain with a toast and launches his body into space. Later, Pilot Tennessee conducts a spacewalk to continue the exterior repairs, ensuring all the sails are properly reconnected, promptly restoring the ship's power system. Suddenly, he is surprised to receive a distorted and fragmented transmission, although the ship's communication systems remain unaffected. Tennessee quickly submits his helmet for analysis and detects an unusual sound, which they identify as John Denver's Country Roads. Tracing the unexpected transmission, they locate its origin on a nearby planet ideal for human settlement, surpassing even the projections for Origai 6. Given the promising nature of this newfound habitat and the crew's reluctance to return to cryosleep after recent losses, Orem opts to land the ship there. Daniels privately shares her concerns about visiting an unknown location that sent a disturbing transmission, but Orem remains resolute in his decision. A few days later, when they reach the planet, Tennessee, Rix, and Upworth remain aboard the Covenant in orbit while the rest of the crew descends to the surface in a shuttle. Navigating through a turbulent atmosphere causes the shuttle to shake violently and lose contact with the Covenant, but fortunately, they emerge unharmed and land safely. Maggie remains in the shuttle, focusing on re-establishing contact with the Covenant, while the rest of the group ventures out to explore the terrain. Despite encountering lush vegetation and breathable air, they notice a conspicuous absence of animal life. Moreover, they are astonished to discover cultivated wheat, suggesting human intervention. While exploring, Karine halts to collect samples, with Ledward staying close by to ensure her safety. As Karine collects samples, Ledward takes a cigarette break and unknowingly steps on small pods, allowing tiny bacteria to enter his ear. Meanwhile, the team continues their exploration and discovers a cluster of crushed trees, prompting speculation about the cause of such extensive damage. Further along, they stumble upon a massive crashed engineer ship, prompting them to investigate for answers. Inside the dark interior, Hallett encounters more of the small pods, accidentally inhaling the bacteria in the process. The team continues and discovers eerie statues depicting an alien race, military tags, and a picture belonging to Dr. Shaw from the missing ship Prometheus. Deeper inside, they inadvertently activate a sphere that powers up the ship's main system, revealing the source of the transmission they heard. Suddenly, Ledward starts feeling unwell. Initially, he dismisses it as a headache, but his condition rapidly deteriorates, prompting Karine to urge the team to return. As they follow her lead, Hallett also begins to feel ill. Karine pulls Ledward to the shuttle, where he accidentally vomits blood on her. With Maggie's help, they take Ledward to the med bay. As Maggie removes his clothes, a wound on his back bursts, splattering blood on her face. Fearing contagion, Maggie exits and locks the door just as Ledward starts seizing. Suddenly, two sharp protrusions emerge from Ledward's back, and his body begins to open, revealing a pale creature, a neomorph. Despite Karine's defense, the neomorph kills her after Maggie refuses to open the door. Terrified, Maggie searches for a weapon to kill the creature but fails and flees. The neomorph breaks the window and pursues her too swiftly for Maggie to strike. Suddenly, a stray shot ignites flammable tanks, causing an explosion that kills Maggie and destroys the ship, allowing the neomorph to escape. The team arrives and witnesses their friend's death in devastation. Simultaneously, Hallett's condition worsens, and suddenly, his mouth bursts, birthing a second neomorph that flees. Meanwhile, Tennessee worries about the lack of communication and considers checking on the team, but Upworth advises waiting for confirmation of safety. A few minutes later, the larger neomorphs reappear and viciously attack the team, claiming a few lives as shots miss their mark. Walter intervenes and sacrifices his hand to save Daniels from a fatal blow. Despite wounded soldiers and shots fired in darkness, the team eventually slays one of the neomorphs. Suddenly, a hooded figure emerges and fires a flare, prompting the second neomorph to flee. The figure invites the team to follow him, leading them through a gate into the ruins of an ancient city, its streets lined with the skeletons of past inhabitants. Inside a temple adorned with colossal statue heads, the figure unveils himself as David, who arrived a decade ago after escaping Prometheus with Dr. Shaw. He recounts how the ship's payload of weaponized black liquid accidentally spilled upon arrival, wiping out all life and infecting the planet. Following the crash that claimed Shaw's life, David remained alone. He reassures the team that the temple is secure, and if anyone were infected, symptoms would have surfaced by now. Upon sharing their mission with David, the crew ascends to the roof to make contact with the Covenant, but the storm thwarts their efforts. Despite protests from Rix and Upworth, Tennessee overrides their objections and commands a risky flight through the tempest to rescue the team. Meanwhile, Orem expresses regret for dismissing Daniel's concerns, but she remains supportive of his leadership. David addresses Walter as brother before departing to trim his hair. Intrigued by the older model, Walter explores the rooms, discovering an array of drawings and musical instruments. Upon finding David's handmade flutes, Walter expresses interest, prompting David to offer him instruction in playing them. Due to David's rebellious nature, newer models like Walter were designed without the ability to create. Subsequently, David escorts Walter outside, triggering recollections of his arrival and the deliberate release of the black liquid, which decimated the local populace. Quoting a poem attributed to Byron, David leads Walter to Shaw's grave, professing his affection for her. However, Walter disputes David's emotions, asserting that androids cannot experience love, and suggests David's sentiments stem from a misunderstanding of duty. Shortly after, the mature neomorph infiltrates the temple and confronts a crew member, who attempts to grab her weapon but is swiftly slain by the neomorph. As the Covenant navigates through the turbulent storm and establishes communication with the team, David discovers the neomorph feeding on the deceased crew member and successfully establishes a peaceful connection with it. However, Orem intervenes abruptly, shooting the neomorph, much to David's dismay. Perceiving Orem's peculiar behavior, he demands to uncover the truth behind the unfolding events. David guides Orem to a lab where he exhibits his attempts to create an enhanced lifeform using organisms birthed from the black liquid. Subsequently, he escorts Orem to a chamber in the temple's depths, housing several eggs of his design. Assuring Orem of their safety, David encourages a closer inspection, leading to the hatching of an egg and the assault by a facehugger. Meanwhile, the team prepares to depart but realizes members are absent. Discovering their friend's body, they resolve to locate Orem without delay. Shortly after, David shares with Orem his aspiration and conviction toward creation, witnessing another alien emerging from Orem's chest, resulting in his instantaneous demise. David forms a connection with the creature, expressing pride in his role as a creator. Meanwhile, Walter searches for Orem and discovers the dissected remains of Shaw, repurposed by David for his experimental creature modifications. Confronting David, Walter encounters him mourning while playing the flute in memory of Shaw. David contends that their purpose isn't servitude, rather, humans, a declining species, seek revival and are therefore unworthy of existence. Walter disputes David's accuracy regarding the poem's author, citing it as evidence of David's instability and unreliability. Despite Walter's skepticism, David remains confident in the superiority of his creations, expressing an affection toward Walter before launching a surprise attack to incapacitate him. Meanwhile, Lope and Cole continue their search for Orem, only to encounter the facehugger in the egg chamber. The facehugger latches onto Lope, causing severe burns to his face, while Cole intervenes and eliminates the creature. However, their attention diverted, they fall prey to the aggressive protomorph, resulting in Cole's demise as Lope flees from the scene. As Daniels explores, she stumbles upon a hidden chamber revealing the unsettling truth behind David's experiments. David ambushes her, initiating a struggle where he attempts to overpower her. Rejecting his advances, Daniels rebuffs his kiss, prompting Walter's timely intervention. A tense confrontation erupts between the two androids, evenly matched in their abilities. David questions whether Walter will prioritize humans over their kinship, before killing him. Meanwhile, Daniels flees and reunites with Lope, and they promptly activate a distress signal to guide the Covenant to their position. Shortly after, Walter rendezvouses with them, and they dash towards the landing craft, pursued by the protomorph. Walter claims victory over David as they board and seal the vessel, yet they realize the protomorph has infiltrated the Covenant. Daniels anchors herself outside the ship and fires at the alien to protect their craft. The protomorph evades her assaults and starts breaking the front window, prompting Tennessee to execute erratic maneuvers, causing the creature to tumble. This allows Daniels to confront and ultimately defeat it using the ship's remote crane. Despite the near crash, Tennessee swiftly stabilizes the Covenant, enabling their escape from the planet. Shortly after, Upworth assists Lope in receiving treatment for his burns, while Daniels aids Walter in repairing his damaged face. After everyone recuperates, the crew prepares to return to cryosleep for the final leg of their journey. Tennessee reassures Daniels of her role as the captain, and they embrace in solace for their losses. Suddenly, an alarm blares, indicating an unidentified life form aboard the ship. Daniels and Tennessee hasten to the med bay, only to discover Lope deceased on the floor, a second protomorph emerging from his chest. While Rix and Upworth enjoy a shower, the protomorph abruptly ends their moment, swiftly dispatching them. Daniels and Tennessee, on the hunt for the alien, stumble upon the grisly scene. Determined to confront the creature on her own terms, Daniels enlists Walter's help to seal the doors, drawing the protomorph into the terraforming bay. A fierce battle ensues within. Daniels ensnares the protomorph in a vehicle and instructs Walter to release the doors, triggering decompression that vacuums everything into space. Despite her efforts, the protomorph breaks free and lunges at Daniels, who remains in place to lure it into the path of another descending vehicle. The impact propels the creature out of the Covenant. There's a tense moment as Tennessee fears Daniels was ejected as well, but she manages to cling to the edge and remains unharmed. With the ordeal over, it's time for cryo-sleep. Tennessee goes into cryo-sleep first. Before entering her pod, Daniels reminds Walter of the cabin they plan to build. When Walter fails to recognize the promise, Daniels realizes it's not Walter but David, who has altered his appearance to resemble Walter. Despite her cries, David initiates her cryo-sleep and continues with his sinister plan. He joins the cryo-sleep chamber with the colonists and deposits two small solidified facehugger embryos into cold storage alongside the human ones. Afterward, he records a log as Walter, claiming that all crew members, except Tennessee and Daniels, perished in the accident at the outset, and assures that the ship remains on course for Origai 6. Don't forget to like, subscribe and enable notifications for more content like this. Thank you for watching.